My name is Michael Franzese, and I'm sure many of you watching know who I am. Might have seen me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'm sure many of you have seen me on YouTube. I've done countless interviews on different platforms, probably to the tune of 60 or 70 million views. But I've never really had my own YouTube channel until now. You know, a lot of people, they wonder, how could you go from the life I led in the mob? And by the way, when I say mob, Mafia, La Cosa Nostra, as it's known as in this country, probably one of the most powerful gangs, organized crime, criminal groups in the world. But I don't want to focus on that. I am going to talk about it only as it applies to making me who I am today. And as I talk about certain experiences, realize that I'm doing so basically to give you a guide, to counsel you, to maybe give you the benefit of some of the experiences that I've had in my life. So that's what this is all about. But today I'm going to answer a question I've been asked God knows how many times, hundreds of times, if not more than that. How did you ever get from being a mob guy to being a public speaker, to writing books, to being a life coach, a business coach? How did you get to that? How are you still alive? How did all these things occur in your life? Well, people, let me tell you something. If you would have said to me that I'd be speaking to thousands of people in various cities and countries around the world, I would have said you're crazy. Last thing in my life I ever thought I'd be doing. And you know, it comes to it's the old adage that we make plans in our life and God laughs about it, because sometimes we just don't know where we're going to end up. We can start out one way, end up 180 degrees to the other side, and that could be either good or bad, depending upon the circumstances. In my life, I think I like to believe that I'm very fortunate, very blessed to be where I am today. So with that, let me tell you how this all began. You know, back in the day when I was part of that life for over 20 years, I became a major target of law enforcement, mainly because I had the name. My father, Sonny Franzese, was a major figure in that life. He was the underboss of the Colombo family, one of the 5 New York Mafia, La Cosa Nostra families. I'm going to speak a lot about my dad as we get into this series. And he had a very high profile, was like I said, a major target, especially back in the 60s. So I had the name. When I did get into the life, I had my own set of problems. I was arrested 17 or 18 different times. I was indicted several times, 7 times to be exact. I had 2 federal racketeering cases, and I had state cases both in New York, Florida, and California. So I became a major target. I went to trial 5 times in my life. But I was finishing up a 10-year prison sentence in Lompoc Federal Prison. I was convicted or pled guilty to racketeering. I took a plea. I got a 10-year prison sentence, $15 million restitution and forfeitures. I went off to do my time. Basically, the underlying act in that racketeering violation was tax fraud. I went off to do my time. I had spent 5 years in prison. I got out on parole. I violated my parole. I went back into prison. And because of the situation, the circumstances at that time, they had me in lockdown. I was in solitary confinement for 29 months and 7 days, 24/7, 6x8 cell, just me and God. A correctional officer comes down to my cell. He says, "Franzese, the warden wants to see you." I said, wow, I had never met the guy. They don't come down to the hole. So they put the cuffs on me. They take me up to the warden's office. I didn't know what he wanted, but I figured, hey, maybe he finally read a letter of mine. He's going to respond in some way. I'll never forget, as I started to walk to his office, the door was open. I look in, and there he is. He's standing by a file cabinet. And he looks at me. He goes to his file cabinet, pulls open the drawer, and there's all my letters, because he was required by Bureau of Prisons policy to keep all the correspondence from an inmate. He looks at them and he says, "Franzese, you're wearing me out with these letters. Every day now, for over 2 years, I'm getting a letter from you." I said, "Hey, warden, I got a lot of time on my hands. I figure I'll write you. What else do you want me to do?" So he looks at the letters, he kind of smiles, and he says, "You know what, Franzese, just for your persistence alone, I'm going to let you out of the hole. I'm going to let you go out on the yard. You got 6 months to go. You're not going to run away. You're not going to try to escape. He said, if you thought you were going to get hurt, I don't think you're stupid. You wouldn't ask to go out on the yard. I said, well, Warden, thank you for that. So he lets me out. He says, but here's the deal. You're going to have to sign a waiver. If anything happens to you on the yard, you get hurt, you get killed, you're not going to hold the Bureau of Prisons responsible. I said, hey, Warden, I'll sign anything. I said, look at me. I lost 20 pounds in the hole. I got a young, pretty wife at home. Let me at least get some exercise in so I look good for my wife and kids when I get home. He smiled and he said, okay. So he lets me out. I signed the waiver. First day, it's Lompoc, California. Beautiful. The weather is great. Sun is shining. I got a Sony Walkman on. Some of you young people listening may not know what that is. And I'm walking the track and I'm as happy as can be. I felt like I was free. In the hole for 29 months and 7 days, walking the track, I felt like I got my freedom. And I'm walking, getting some exercise in. I get about halfway into the first lap and I hear over the loudspeaker, Franzese, report back to the warden's office. I said, that's not good news. I was what you call a central monitoring inmate, meaning that any movement on my part had to be approved by Bureau of Prisons in Washington. I was that kind of an inmate. So I'm preparing my speech. I figure he got word from DC. They're going to lock me up again. I'm going to try my best to try to stay out. I'm preparing a speech. I get back near the offices, and as I approach the office, it gets worse. I see two guys in suits. I don't need to see the badge. I see the suit and the shoes. I knew exactly who they were. FBI, right? Now, they had tried to make me a cooperating witness. They wanted to really come down on me. They thought I can help them put some of my former associates in trouble. They wanted me to testify in certain cases. I didn't want to do that. I just wanted out of the life. I wasn't mad at anybody. Well, they gave me a hard time. Part of the reason I was in the hole was because they were putting a lot of pressure on me. Anyway, I see them, I turn around, I say, hey guys, leave me alone. I'll back to the hole, I'll finish up my time. Let's leave it at that. Franzese, no, come back here, we want to talk to you. I says, guys, you know I'm not doing that. Leave me alone. They said, get back here. It's important, we need to talk to you. Now I started to think, why were they here? Maybe there was something, God forbid, wrong with my family. So I go back into the office, I sit down, two agents, they were from DC. I said, guys, what do you want? They said, Franzese, we got a favor to ask you. I said, guys, no favors. There's always strings attached to your favors. I said, not doing it. They said, just listen. I said, okay. They said, you claim you turned your life around? We're going to give you an opportunity to prove it. I said, what do you mean? They said, Major League Baseball, the NBA, the NFL, and the NHL are getting together to do a anti-gambling video. Now, I had a big gambling operation on the street. Not that I myself was a bookmaker. You know what a bookmaker is, takes illegal bets. But I had 12 or 13 bookmakers working for me. Now, that was common in the mob. You know, a lot of us controlled bookmakers. Some of us were bookmakers ourselves. Very lucrative business. So they said, we're going to give you an opportunity to prove that you've turned your life around. All of these leagues are getting together to do an anti-gambling video. We want you to participate in a video. I said, guys, you want me to do a video? For the last several years, you're telling me I'm going to get killed because I'm no longer in that life. It's become public information. Everybody's upset with me. Now you want me to do a video? I said, this has got to be a setup. I said, I don't do videos. I said, I just want to get out of here and get back to my life. No, listen up. Listen up. It's not a setup. If you agree to do this, we're going to sweeten the pot. I said, what do you mean by that? They said, well, how long have you been down? How long have you been in prison? I said, I've been in 8 years. You guys know that. 3 years in the hole. You put me here. They said, well, we're going to give you an opportunity to have a nice weekend. That's what do you mean by that? They said, well, we're filming this in Chicago. We're going to take you out of here for 3 days. We got a hotel room for you, king-size bed, real pillows and blankets. They said, order room service, you order pasta, macaroni, whatever you Italians eat. They said, have a bowl, go down, take a dip in the pool. We don't think you're going to escape. They said, who's better than you for 3 days? Plus, you'll do this video for us. It's a big favor. I looked at him, I said, you know what? I said, if you can get my wife in that room with me, I'll do a video on anything that you want. And they kind of laughed. I said, look, 8 years is a long time, but it's okay. I was married at the time. They laughed. They said, okay, we'll try. As it turned out, we had an earthquake that weekend in California. They couldn't take me out of the prison to do the video. But since I agreed to do it, NBA Productions, they were in charge of the production. They came into the prison several weeks later, and I filmed my portion of the video inside the prison. And all the leagues got together. They spent about $250,000, I believe, on it. It was a 20-minute video, and I did my part. And I told him straight out how we set up these athletes, how we put them in trouble. I told him what organized crime's involvement was. I said, because honestly, I was looking to turn my life around. I saw this as an opportunity to do it. Did the video, went back, finished up my time, that was it. I get out of prison, 95. About a month later, the head of security for Major League Baseball and the head of security for the NBA came to meet with me, to speak with me directly, and they said, Michael, this video is having a great impact on our players. You know the problem in professional sports as well as anybody with gambling. We want you to take this a step further. We want you to come and speak to our athletes. Now, I had never done anything like that before. I never spoke to anybody other than my own crew in my own life, but I never did any public speaking or anything like that. I said, guys, I don't speak like that. I mean, that's not what I do. I said, I'm just trying to get my life back in order. And I'll never forget the head of security for Major League Baseball. His name was Kevin Hallinan, nice guy. He was a former homicide detective in New York, big Irish guy, right? And he looked at me and he said, oh, big tough mob guy, you're afraid to speak to a few athletes? I said, okay, set it up, I'm going. So in 1996, I spoke to all the Major League Baseball athletes in spring training, both in Arizona and Florida. I did all the NBA rookies that year, and quite honestly, I've been doing that to a degree ever since. You know, that extended to the NFL, spoke to a lot of NFL teams. And then in 1998, the NCAA jumped on board. They said, Franzese, you know, we also have that problem in collegiate sports. We'd like you to come and speak to our athletes. I created a little video for them too that they showed to athletes throughout their college programs, Division I and Division II. And in 1998, I started speaking to all college athletes all over the country. And I've been doing that ever since. Spoke to probably well over 300 to 350 Division I and Division II schools. So that's how this all started. At the same time, the pastor of my church, so he said, you know, I want you to give your testimony. Honestly, I didn't even know what he meant, the testimony. I thought you did that from a witness stand, you know, but and anyway, couldn't refuse him. So back in 1995, I started speaking to the church. And for some reason, it just caught on. You know, word kind of spread, and I started to get requests from other pastors, other ministries throughout the country. And this is how I started in speaking. So it was really through professional sports, and then through Dr. Taylor at a church. I never marketed myself in that way. It just kind of grew. So that's it for now. Stay tuned for part 2, be coming up soon. God bless you. Have a great week. Stay safe now with all that's going on, and speak to you soon.